So, Katie, how are you?
Good.
Good, good, good. I'm so glad you can be here, so that we can really wrap up where you were, where you are, and where you've come being in the program. So this is just a casual conversation for us to kind of figure out what your goals were, what really made you want to reach out, where you felt stuck, and how the program sort of helped you get unstuck. So to start, do you want to just share with the listeners the age of your kids and really what made you kind of hit rock bottom and where you were when you were like, Tia, I need to do something?
Okay, so I have two girls, 4 and 6, and I guess the pandemic really put us over the edge where we were home all the time. They were bored. I'm like, I am not a daycare worker, a cruise director to have activities set up all day long to keep you guys occupied. So then they would be bored because I'd be like, I don't know, front yard or backyard. Like, what do you want to do? Just play. And they wouldn't, and they were fighting. And my older one, I've read all the books, I've done all the research, and it never worked. She was so stubborn. She didn't follow the typical pattern that most kids did. Or when my friend said, like, oh, we do this and it works, or I just have to say, you're going to get a timeout, and their kids right away straighten up, I would say to her, you're going to get a timeout. And she'd be like, okay, fine, give me a timeout. And we were like, oh my gosh, what do we do with this kid? I was like, we need help because she just does the opposite of everything the books say. She is not afraid to get in trouble. She was not afraid of us. And not that we wanted her to be, but just that we had zero control because
Mm,
she would just say,
I don't care.
I don't care. I'm going to take your toy away. Take it away. Why don't you throw it in the garbage while you're at it? And
Mm.
we were like, oh my gosh.
Like, she is winning. What are we gonna do?
Yeah. So and every time I read those books and I'd be like, okay, well, that's not working. Or I would have a question to be like, okay, so what happens when that doesn't work? Then what do you do? And the books don't go into that.
Mhm.
Or, every book says to do something different. My little one at the time was 3 and was having major temper tantrums, like major, she would beat me up. Like she'd be pulling my hair out. I'd be scratched, bite marks, he's spitting on me. I hate you. And I would try to stay with her because they would say, stay with him, be there for them. That didn't work. And label her feelings. That just made her more mad. So it wasn't working. And I had read before the walk away method. There's so many, like you can walk away, you can stay with them, time out, hold the door shut, ignore them. Like every book says something different. So it was nice for you to say, follow this one. And then we stuck with it and
Yeah.
it worked.
Yeah. So you were
So,
confused. You were
mhm,
completely confused, lost,
mhm.
didn't know which method to use, didn't know why they weren't working, felt like you'd tried it all, felt like you'd researched it all, and you just felt like things were spiraling when we connected for your discovery call, right? You were pretty much at that place where,
Right.
correct me if I'm wrong, where you felt like really nothing was actually ever going to work. Did you have that feeling?
Yes. Yes. And I believe I said to you about my older daughter, I was like, well, be prepared because
Yep. She's
nothing
like,
works on her.
mhm.
And I
You
was like, I don't think this is going to work, Tia.
you did give me that. You
Yeah.
did give me that line. You did.
I was like, you think you know, but
Yeah.
she's a tough one. And she still is. And there was a lot of times on the calls where I'd be like, okay, we did this. It did not work.
Yeah.
She called my bluff.
Yeah.
She called me out on this. And other times it was like the simplest thing. And I was like, magic. I
Good.
don't know.
Yeah.
So,
So you were at your wits' end when we started.
mhm,
You had hesitations about joining the program. One of your hesitations were you wondered if it actually would work because nothing had worked before. But you decided to take that leap. What do you think encouraged you to take the leap finally?
um, I don't know. I guess it was just I should say I was just really didn't know what to do. I'm a stay-at-home mom. So I um, this is my job. And was scared of the future of like, oh my gosh, my kids are going to hate me because all day long, like my husband would come home and be like, how was your day? And I was like, well, everybody hates me. I'm the worst mom ever. All I did was yell today and everybody's crying. So we all feel like crap. And it's like, is this how we want to like live? And then even like people would say to me like, oh God, good luck when they're teenagers. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like we're going to have a terrible relationship. They're probably going to rebel, or at least my older one anyways. And I was like, I need to get this under control. I believe when we were having our discovery calls back and forth, you called me once and my little one, my 4-year-old, was having like a major tantrum. And I was like, and it's been going on for 40 minutes and she's just following me around and hitting me and scratching me. And you told me to do something. And then I did it. And then it stopped. And I was like, okay, sign me up.
Yeah, we had a little moment, an active teaching moment, which actually came in quite handy. So compared to where you were, overall, like general speaking, compared to where you were on that call with the tantrum, debating, do I do it? Do I not do it? Oh my gosh, to where you are today, graduated the program, having gone through the Parenting with Purpose method, how do you feel overall compared to who you were then to who you are today?
I definitely feel more confident. I know what I'm doing instead of, like I said, I've read all the books. So instead of like, should I do this? Should I do that? Should we try this? Try that? And I would try all these different things. Now I know, do this. I know I'm doing the right thing and I'm just going to stick with that. So I know what to do. And I think once I posted like, oh, I handled the situation, I didn't even have to message you, where my little one just got on her bike and took off to the park. And she was like, and I was like, come back. And she kind of was riding her bike and called over her shoulder, like, I'm going to the park. And she was gone. And I knew, like, I just calmly walked to the park. Well, I was like, go get your sister to my 6-year-old. She ran after her on her bike. I went and got her and, you know, took her off the playground when I got there, just talked to her saying like, you can't do that. Like now we have to leave the park. We can't come to the park. I knew exactly what to do. We left, we came home. She was not happy about it, but guess what? She hasn't done it again since. So I know how to handle those situations without hesitating or being like, should I try this? Should I try that? Like, I just know what to do. And there was no timeout. There was no like huge punishment. The punishment was that you don't get to go to the park.
Yeah,
you know,
the discipline
natural,
that you don't go to the park. Exactly. Whereas before you were probably using lots of forms of punishment, which is why you were cycling. Now you have the confidence to use discipline tactics in a way that actually works. So your confidence is up. Your relationship with the girls, how do you feel about your relationship with the girls compared to where it was? I know you mentioned on one of your last calls that you're not getting beat up, and that you have very few crazy tantrums, that things are just much better. How does that look in your house now?
It's nicer. I mean, obviously they still have meltdowns, they still have tantrums, there's still, you know, moments, but honestly, I haven't heard I hate you, mommy, or you're the worst mommy in a long time, which is fantastic. And the physical violence is definitely down towards me and towards each other. I mean, they still often, like sometimes will, you know, swipe or hit and then, you know, they have their consequence and that's that. But it is definitely like from where it was, like huge change, huge. And I do feel like the golden time has definitely improved our relationships. They both look forward to it. Yeah, so things are just a lot better. And there's some things that I still haven't even implemented yet because, you know, you can only do so much at once. And I feel like, you know, you have to get your bearings with like doing one change and then another. And there's some things I have notes to still do. So
yeah, and parenting
things even
ongoing.
Better.
It's an ongoing thing, and kids are not robots, and there's going to be moments, but having that confidence, having your relationship in a more positive place, all of those things are going to be ongoing things that you can continue to take with you. So do you have any regrets about joining the program, or anything that you feel like, gosh, that was a waste, I really shouldn't have done that? Or do you feel like it changed your life?
I think it did change our lives because, like I said, we know what to do now instead of just floundering and just trying things out So yeah, it definitely was worth it. Yeah, just to know and have the confidence of like, what is the right way? Because you read all the books and it's like, well, what one do we follow? They all say different things. Like I read one that literally said like, well, you're bigger than your kids, so pick them up and put them in their room. And
Mhm.
I was like, no, I don't know about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But that was like, he was an expert. He wrote a book and everyone's like, read this book. It's amazing.
It's
So
confusing when experts tell you things. Yeah, it's very
yeah, and
confusing.
everyone had a different way. But I did read before. So nothing that you told us, and I mean this in the nicest way, but nothing was like I think you've said before, it's not rocket science. Like
Mhm.
nothing was brand new. Like I had read before some of the methods that you told us to use, but they were in the mix of 10 other methods.
Mhm.
So I didn't know to stick with that one. So I would do that one. Then I tried, then it would, and I'd be like, well, it didn't work because I wasn't doing it properly or I was missing some pieces. Or then we try the next one. Oh, well, that one's not working either. So then we try the
Yeah.
next one. And then the kids are in the gray zone, as you say, because they don't know.
Mhm.
So it was nice to know, okay, stick with this, and then you can tweak it this way or that way to make it work. And then it
Yeah.
it did. So
Piecing it
yeah.
together is the hardest part because it's not what just happens in the moment. It's what you're
Mhm.
doing in your parenting before the moments happen. And the books
Mhm.
often talk about what to do in the moment and not what to do to avoid the moment. And that's where we
Right.
often get stuck. I know for you guys, it is a financial commitment to join the program. And I know that was a big hang up in the beginning because what if we do it and it doesn't work? What if we invest and we wish we hadn't spent the money?
Right.
What if it's a total waste of time and money? And then my husband's mad at me because I spent the money and it didn't actually work. Um, Thinking now about the investment for parents who feel that same way, because that is a common place for parents to feel nervous about that investment. What do you say to those parents who are
Mhm.
like, oh gosh, do we invest it? Do we not invest it? When they're feeling really a lot of struggle and turmoil with their kids and their relationships. What is your advice to them?
I would say that it's definitely worth it because it's their lives. This is how you're setting them up for their future, their relationship with you, them knowing consequences, them knowing how to basically like live life, like
Mm,
um, that if you do this, then you're going to have this consequence. And it basically just structures them, if that makes sense.
yeah,
I don't know.
totally. Yeah, it
Yeah.
totally makes sense.
And that's kind of how I sold it to my husband was that, say we don't do this and we keep going on this path. And then, our kids are just completely out of control in 5 years or 10 years, or, the teenage years, we've lost them, say, like mentally, not physically.
Yeah,
um, would you at that point, like if someone said to you, like, for $1,500, we can change all of this? Like, it's actually not that much money if you think about it that way. Like, would you
yeah,
change your kids' lives for that amount of money if, you knew?
yeah.
So and like, I'm not saying my kids are perfect now or that, they're going to be angel teenagers, but I feel like I know how to handle situations and we do have a better relationship. So that will definitely help.
Yeah. And it's the value of your relationship and their life, not the value of a 12-week program. That's really
Right.
how we have to think about anything that we really do in life. It's what's the value it's going to bring to us. Yeah. So that being said, it sounds like you've come a really long way. I've watched you completely transform. I mean, I wish I had recorded your discovery call. I honestly wish I had because you would be shocked at where you were and where you are. And sometimes when we're watching our own transformation, it's hard to see where you are because it's
Mhm.
what you're living in. But if we could
Yeah.
go back and we could record that, and I should have just for your sake, you've come so far, like
Yeah.
so far. Your confidence, the way that you even phrase your questions, the information that you have, and the knowledge you have about the meaning of their behavior, so that you can phrase the question in a way that actually I know you understand all that. Like you've come so far. So
Thank you. Yeah.
loved working with you. It's been amazing. You really were a leader in the group, whether
Oh,
you thought that or not,
thank
you
you.
were. And so I just want to thank you for choosing me to guide you. And I can't say enough nice things about having you on board.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. And we can't say enough nice things about you too. I've told some of my friends thing is going great. And when something isn't going great, I can be like, oh yeah, well, that's my fault because I
Usually,
did this or that. Or
Yeah,
yeah, or
you know.
I know. And I think the big thing is before it was like my mindset was more, how do I punish them for not behaving? And I definitely now am thinking like, I'm not looking for punishments. I don't like, if that makes sense. It's like, how do I support them? I always think that like I hear your voice in my head now.
Forever.
Because that was like that's what, like, I remember you telling me like, it's about accountability. And I was like, yeah, whatever. But it really is like, that was like, definitely the piece that I didn't understand when you were telling me about it. I couldn't quite grasp the value in that. And that was what was the key. That was most valuable because I took this so seriously. I took notes every week. Like I have my book here that is like I took notes every thing. I wrote down all the notes from the coaching call. I actually had a friend call me like a couple weeks ago and was like, how come I haven't heard from you in forever? Like, what is going on? And then we were chatting, and then I told her that I was doing this course, and she was like, oh, yeah, no, was it around Christmas? And I was like, yes. She's like, yeah, that's when I haven't spoken to you since Christmas. Because I was just so like
vision
focused on what I was doing. And I took it like we were taking a course. And I'm sure I missed a few, but I don't know. I just took it very seriously. I took it like a course I was taking, like I would have in school, and just, yeah.
But that's why you have results.
And that's why I have results, because I really worked it and asked you every possible question, as you know.
What I want you to do. I tell everybody, if you don't ask me questions, I don't know how to help you. But if you have a plan and you have support and you have accountability, those are the three things. And if you only take one piece of it, that's where people fall through the cracks. So I'm so glad you took advantage of all of it. Like,
and I will say by the end of it, like people were asking questions and I would like read them and be like, I could answer this. But another one of my friends, she just had her third baby and she was like going crazy. And things were, I was like, just was walking by her house and things were just going crazy. And she was like, what is going on with you and your kids? Because I used to be the one being like, oh my gosh, yes, call the exorcist. And I think she noticed like, hey, wait a minute. And I was like, oh yeah, my kids, now I'm not that mom that's like, my kids just get along so well. Oh yes, they listen when I call them. They're just amazing. And so she was like, what's happening? And I was like, okay, I have a secret to tell you. I took a parenting course.
That's so good.
So I sent her your information, which is funny. Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Yes, it was definitely the Facebook group, which I was against at first, definitely was key.
Yeah, so. It's a very warm group where people are not like, it's not your typical Facebook group. I try and tell you that. It's just basically a way for you to ask me your questions and get support in a
non-judgmental
environment. And everybody in the group is there because they want help. Like that's really the key piece, is nobody's in there to try and tell somebody that they know what they're doing. Really, they're all there for the same reason.
For sure. So yeah, no, it was good.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Kate. Nice to see you.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.